Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Willow Creek, which is one of the base game worlds, and I'm going to be building a big base game only family home. So this house is built on a 30 by 20 slot in the neighbourhood of Willow Creek where the Goth family live. I've said this before and I'm not going to repeat myself, but not too familiar with the neighbourhood names because they updated it after we got the launch of base game. So if you know where the Goth family live, this is where this house is built. I love this neighbourhood so much because you can see as I'm spinning around and I'm currently doing the roofing, you've got all these cherry blossom trees in the background and it's just full of greenery, and there's these really beautiful like blue, crystal blue lakes, and it's just really pretty, this neighbourhood. And I wanted to sit down and build something that was a base game only, a family home for more people to download, because I understand and I completely get that some of my builds that I do are very pack heavy. I use quite a lot of different DLCs, whether it be expansion packs and game packs and whatnot, in quite a lot of my builds. But in all fairness, 9 times out of 10 I do build for my save file, which I probably shouldn't mention this, but I'm gonna mention it, and then we'll pretend that I didn't mention it. All right, let's keep it between us. If let's pretend that I didn't say this, but there is gonna be multiple different versions of my save file. I'll leave it with that and I'll let you speculate on what I mean by that. But 9 times out of 10, when I'm building for my main save file, I use the majority of the packs, and I'm wanting to sit down and build something that was a little bit more friendly for more people to download. Friendly? You know what I mean, like easier, not friendly. Technically speaking, it is friendlier because it's friendlier on your wallet or on your purse, because you won't have to spend as much money buying the different packs and the different DLCs, because there is so many. And especially if you're just getting into The Sims 4 now, maybe you haven't been playing it since 2014 and you're just starting to, you know, download a few different expansion packs, a few different game packs. I dread to think how much money it would be to buy every single pack for The Sims 4. If you've been buying them kind of as they come along, it's not as bad. But if you just wanted to start The Sims 4 now and you wanted to have, I don't know, you wanted to have seasons, you wanted to have cats and dogs, you wanted to have so on and so forth, it's going to be a bit much, it's going to be a bit heavy on your wallet. So I wanted to build something that was really easy to download. You don't need any other DLCs to download this. The only one pack that I used, which is not base game but technically it is base game, it was the free holiday pack, which is a free pack that you can download. So if you have The Sims 4, it's available for you to go and download and put into your game now. You don't have to pay any money for it. I used that, but to me in my head that's basically base game because it's free. And so, well, it's not free, you need The Sims 4 to play it, but you know what I mean. That's the only thing that I use in this build, and so I hope you guys like it. I had a lot of fun playing around with some of the new base game items because we've got a lot of updated swatches recently, and this is my first build that I've done that was really focusing on just using the Sims 4 base game since we've had that update. Off memory, I think we got around about 1,000 new swatches of base game items. That was flooring and some new object swatches. They didn't give us any wallpaper swatches, which I really wish that they did, because if we're being honest, the Sims 4 base game has been out since 2014 and we all pretty much recycle the same base game wallpapers over and over again. But I was excited to use some of the new swatches in this house, and yeah, I hope you guys like it. But anyway, moving on and talking about the house itself. So this house has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, but it can sleep 5 Sims. Now, it's something that I've realised in some of my previous base game builds, they've been quite big. They've been on 40 by 30s, and I believe they've both had like 4 or 5 bedrooms. One of them had a tree house. You know, they're quite big houses, and off memory, I think they were quite expensive as well to download and for your Sims to pay to, you know, like buy the house and live in it. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit more realistic and a little bit more budget friendly for your Sims. I say this and I have absolutely no idea how much this house costs. It will be in the build details in the description box down below if you're curious, but I'm hoping it's under 120,000 simoleons. I'm hoping. I have literally no idea, so it's just a guessing game from here. But I wanted it to feel realistic. I wanted it to be a house that, you know, your typical suburban family can live in. They don't have to have tons of money, even though they might have to, because like I said, I have no idea how much it costs. But I wanted it to feel more like a typical suburban family home. You don't have to have tons of money to live here. They're not exactly fancy Sims. They're just your average Joe family. And that was just kind of like the idea that I had for the build. Now, where this build isn't going to be for my save file, I don't have as much of an in-depth storyline as what I do for some of my other builds that are for my save, but I did still think about a storyline. You know, I can't help myself. I was building and I was just imagining a storyline and a family that lives here, and I tried to imagine the family that would run alongside the Sims 4 base game, because with other packs you have different careers, you have different skills, you have different interests and whatnot. So I tried to think of a storyline that would fit with the Sims 4 base game. You know, you wouldn't have have to have a certain expansion pack to get the job for the storyline that I imagine or whatnot. I tried to keep it to the Sims 4 base game. It was quite difficult, but I do like the storyline that I came up with. Don't get me wrong, it's not massively in depth. It's a very simple kind of storyline, but I really like it. Now, like I've mentioned, this house has 3 bedrooms, but it can sleep up to 5 Sims. Now, I decorated the rooms to be for a set of parents. There is a teenager's room, and then there is another 1 bedroom which sleeps 2 children Sims. I put the bunk beds in it, but it's not a top bunk and a bottom bunk. There's the bunk bed that's got the top bunk, and then underneath it it's got the desk. And then on the other side of the room, there is a separate single bed as well. Now, the storyline kind of goes this family that the teenager in this household is the main character. You know, it's their world, we're just simply living in it. I really feel like they are a Regina George of The Sims 4. I was really thinking back to, you know, The Sims 4 Get Together expansion pack trailer. At one point in it, they're showcasing the different club system, and if you're familiar with the club system in The Sims 4, you might be familiar with the fact that you can have a leader of a club. Well, in the trailer, there's this one scene and it's got 3 Sims walking towards the camera, and there's one that's standing in the middle, and it's just so apparent that they are the leader of the club. They're the most popular Sim in the group of friends. I imagine that the teenager is going to be like this. Now, I know that obviously Get Together is an expansion pack, and this is a base game build, and this is a base game storyline, but that was just kind of like what I was thinking back to. You can still have a really popular Sim, a really social butterfly Sim in the Sims 4 base game. You don't need to Get Together to do that, but I was just thinking back to that scene because it's always just stood out to me in my mind, and I have no idea why. But also, Regina George from Mean Girls. I'm assuming that most people know that, because Mean Girls is an iconic film, my personal favourite, but it's been out for a while, and I think everyone knows Mean Girls anyway, but just in case you're thinking, who is Regina George? Who are you talking about? Regina George is from Mean Girls, one of my favourite films, if not my favourite film. But yeah, I imagine the teenager to be very popular, has so many friends in school, probably has a few different romantic interests, and the romantic interests don't know about the other romantic interests, if you know what I mean. Just a very sociable Sim. I imagine that one day that they want to grow up and they want to become either a musician or just someone in the spotlight. I feel like they really love the attention. They almost crave attention from other Sims, and so they want to do something that kind of brings a lot of attention to themselves. And so I was thinking, a musician or an entertainer of some sort might do just that. Maybe they want to grow up and become a singer. I'm not sure if singing is in the Sims 4 base game. It might be, but it might not be, because I know it got introduced with City Living, but I felt sure that they updated it, so now singing it is a base game skill. I might be completely wrong, but I have a feeling that they did update it. But either way, if singing is not base game skill, you can have a Sim that plays the piano, or maybe plays the guitar, or maybe plays the violin. I just imagine that the teenager loves the spotlight and just wants to consistently be on everyone's minds. But now moving on and talking about the children. So there is 2 children in this household, and they share a room. I imagine that the children are twins, but one twin is really good in school, you know, really does well with their grades, always getting A stars and whatnot, always gets their homework and their drawings put on the fridge, that kind of Sim. But I imagine that their twin does really bad in school and it's just not working for them. They're a good Sim, don't get me wrong, like they're not naughty. Well, actually no, they might be a bit naughty, but they're not like rebellious. They just don't seem to do well in school, and they feel a little bit like sad and like pushed aside because they've got this twin that does so well in school compared to them that doesn't do as well. Now, I don't have much of a more in-depth storyline for them because children are so hard, especially children and toddlers are so hard to give storylines for because there's not really much to them in general, let alone in the Sims 4 base. I say that there's not really much to them in any of the other expansion packs. That's why I'm in the generations in the Sims 4, but that's a different story. But yeah, I imagine that with the children that they are twins. One is really good in school, gets really good grades, and the other one is the complete opposite. And I tried to show that as well with the bedrooms, with one of the children having a bunk bed and having a desk space underneath it, whereas the other one kind of has a bed kind of like pushed to the corner, and not as much dedication and time has gone into that child as well as their twin. But now, as you can see, I finally moved on into the inside of this house. I do want to quickly go over the parent storyline because I don't want to just leave it there, but I do want to, you know, take note that I have moved on into the inside. As you can see, I just quickly did the hallway and now I'm moving on and doing the lounge room. But quickly, I want to talk about the storyline for the parents. So one thing that is in the Sims 4 base game, which I love playing with, is the collections. There is so many different collections. There is fossil collections, metal collections, fish collections, so on and so forth. I imagine that one of the parents is really into collecting things, and so you'll see as I go around and furnish the inside of the build, I try to place down a lot of different metals and whatnot. On the coffee table in the lounge room that I've just placed down, I placed down, I think it was one of the metals that your Sims can find. It's kind of like on a little stand. I try to do little bits here and there to try and not so it's in your face with collections, because otherwise the whole build will be really messy because there are so many different collections in the Sims 4 base game. But I wanted to put enough collections so you could be able to see that, okay, this Sim does like collecting the odd 1 or 2 different things. And so there is metals, there is some mountain fish on the wall in the garage, there's little bits and bobs. I imagine that they probably just have like a normal 9 to 5, maybe in the business career or something, and then in their free time, you know, on Saturdays and Sundays they like to go fishing, maybe with the children, or maybe they like to go and get one of the little metal detectors out and go metal detecting, even though you can't do that in the Sims 4, but let's pretend that you can, and that's how your Sims find all the different fossils and whatnot. But then we do have one more parent in this household. They don't really have much of an in-depth storyline. All I could really imagine for them was that they're going to be a really good chef. You know, they work in a really top restaurant. Obviously, with Sims 4 base game, we don't have restaurants, but your Sims who are chefs in the Sims 4 base game, they got to go work somewhere, and I imagine that they go to work and they're a chef. I also imagine that they're not home so often, so I imagine that the parent that is the collector and likes, you know, going fishing and is in the business career, I imagine that that's the parent that probably cooks all the dinners. Even though there is a chef in the household, I imagine that the chef is never at home because, you know, they work in this big fancy restaurant and they never seem to have time for their family. But yeah, that was just kind of like the storyline that I had for the family that could live in this house. Now, it goes without saying, you could change it in any way, shape or form. If you have any of the other expansion packs, you could have your Sim be in one of the expansion pack careers, like maybe a detective or a nurse or whatnot. I just wanted to have a storyline which would go along with this base game house, and I wanted the storyline to be base game as well, because I like giving storylines for all of my builds because it gives them a little bit of character, I feel like. Plus, sometimes, and I know and I experienced it so many times myself, you kind of feel a little bit lost what to play with The Sims 4, whereas a sandbox game you can get so overwhelmed, and sometimes you can feel like you can play the same storyline over and over again. I mean, don't get me wrong, that wasn't the most amazing storyline, I know that, but I still wanted to give a storyline for if you did want to download the build and you was looking for like a base game storyline to go off with, then that is a very simple base game storyline. But yeah, anyway, moving on from that and talking about what I'm doing right now. So as you would have seen, I've moved on to the inside. I've already done the lounge room, the hallway, quickly did the kitchen, and now I've moved on into the garage space. So I wanted this garage to feel like an actual garage. So in here I put the woodworking table, I put the boxing bag in the corner, I put the little card station thing where Sims can play cards with each other, and then you'll see on the side I put some counters and I tried to clutter it up with different, you know, like fossils and collectibles and some of the different clay models, and we've got the postcards and the corkboard, and then on the shelves on the left hand side I cluttered that up with a few, I think, elements and metals, or you know, just all the little bits and bobs, all the little collectible things that your Sims can find in and around the world. I wanted to place down into this garage. I feel like the Sim that's really into collecting stuff, this is going to be like their little cave. This is where they like to put all their different collections. I also placed down some of the like plaques onto the wall. So you can see on the right hand side there are these 2 little plaques. I placed down one that's got a watering can on, which I'm assuming is for the different types of plants or different types of like things that your Sims can grow, and then there is also one for postcards. When your Sims complete a collection in the game, they'll get sent a little plaque, not for all of them, and I can't remember which one it is, but there is 1 or 2 different collections in the game that if you complete it, your Sim still doesn't get a plaque. And so in the past I've gone and I've downloaded custom plaques because my Sim has collected them and I want to showcase it. Because, by the way, collecting in The Sims 4 is something that I love to do in my own personal gameplay. I'm consistently creating Sims to try and complete collections. I just think it is so much fun, and it's so rewarding when you get the little sound notification that your Sim has found something new. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Like when your Sims are digging for something and you get little... Why was I almost about to attempt to do the notification sound? I'm not going to attempt it, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. When your Sims are digging for maybe fossils, or if they're fishing or something, and they collect something that they haven't previously collected, your Sims will get a notification and it'll make a sound. I'm not going to do it, but I almost did, and that was probably the worst idea in the world because I have no idea how to replicate that sound. But anyway, moving on from that. But quickly, collectibles in The Sims 4, so much fun, highly recommend doing it. But as you can see, I'm just finishing up the dining room and I've now moved on into the next room. The dining room is quite short and sweet. It's got a dining room table in the middle of it, and it's got a bunch of chairs around it, enough chairs to suit all of the members of the family so everyone can sit round the table of an evening and eat dinner together. Although I do always imagine that there is 1 empty seat at the dining room table because the chef parent is never home, and it's actually quite sad if you think about it, but it was just what I was imagining when I was doing the dining room and doing this build. But now you can see I've moved on to this next room, which I don't know what to class this as, because originally when I was doing the floor plan I was going to make this to be the lounge room, but I wanted to use a 3-seater sofa that you would have seen me use in the lounge room, you know, the cream one. But if I was to try to place it into this room, your Sims would have to walk through the archway, chuck a very sharp left and then walk around the sofa, and it just didn't flow very nicely. And so I decided to make it into a bit of a like miscellaneous room is the only way I can describe it. It's got a fireplace in it, it's got a seating area, and then it's also got a chess table in the corner. Now I imagine that the child that's going to be really good at school, you know, gets good grades, they're going to be doing one of the 4 children aspirations in The Sims 4, because children only have 4 different types of aspirations, which I really am holding out for some more. But one of the aspirations that you get your children to do, they have to sit at the chess table for 4 hours, and so I imagine that one of the kids in this household has that aspiration, and so there needs to be a chess table somewhere, and so I decided to put it into that room. Of course you could change that room to be maybe a music room, or if you wanted it to be another bedroom you could definitely do that. I just wanted it to be a bit of a miscellaneous, dunno kind of room is the only way that I can describe it. But now, as you can see, I've moved on to the next room, which is the home office. So this room is quite short and simple. It's got a desk in here. I think I also included an art easel, which I also placed down into the back garden as well. I kind of spoke over the back garden because I was talking about a storyline, but in the back garden it's got a barbecue area, seating area, swimming pool. It's got the monkey bars. It's also got a lot of different little planters that your Sims can go around and plant different things in. I was thinking that the parent that really likes collecting things has over the years found all these different harvestables, and they've placed them and planted them into their own garden. And so if you do decide to download this house off the gallery, you'll notice that in them planters I've already placed down some plants. Of course you can delete them, please don't feel like you need to keep the plants that I've placed in them. I actually want to mention this because a little while ago I built a farm and I placed down a load of different chickens and cows and llamas, and then I just put it onto the gallery. But I didn't realise that the gallery saved all of the different chickens and, you know, cow and llama and stuff, and people were telling me that they didn't have the heart to delete them. Have the heart to delete my chickens and my cows and my llamas if I do farm builds or something like that. And the same goes for harvestables. If I ever place down some plants, you don't have to keep them. They're just kind of there for if you want to use them once you can, but feel free to delete them. I just wanted you to have some plants all nice and ready for you, for your Sims to start gardening with. But anyway, as you can see, I finished up the little home office, and now I'm moving on to the upstairs bathroom. Now there is 2 bathrooms in this house, but as always I only show the furnishing for one. The other one is downstairs right by the front door, and that one just has a toilet, a sink and then a shower in it. But then this is the main bathroom of the house. I had a lot of fun decorating this bathroom, and bathrooms are not something that I find the most fun whenever I furnish the inside of a house, but I felt like the bathroom was very well decorated and it looks a little bit grand, probably a bit too grand to be honest with you, for the family that's going to be living here. But maybe they recently had their bathroom decorated or something, or renovated. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now moved on into the bedrooms, and I've started off by furnishing the children's room. So in here, as you can see, on the right hand side I have the bunk bed, and then I placed down this desk underneath it. Luckily the desk comes in a matching swatch to the swatch of the bed frame, which I was so happy about. So it kind of looks like the desk is a part of the bed. And then on the other side of the room we have the single bed, which I imagine is going to be for the child that's not as good in school. I feel like there is a bit of favoritism in this household with the children, and I feel like the Sim that's got, or the child that's got the bunk bed, is the more favourable child. You know, they're bringing home the good grades. They're probably going to be the Sim that's going to go off and get a really good job, and probably going to go to college, and maybe he's in a few after school activities or something. That was the kind of Sim that I imagine this child to be. And then the other one I feel like is a little bit disheartened because they don't do as well in school. They still do well, but just not as well, and they're just kind of like pushed to the side because they've got this twin that is just doing so well and they're not doing as well. It's really sad, but that's just kind of like what I was imagining. I do go back into that room in just a second. You would have seen I've now moved on into the next room, but I forgot to add a chest of drawers when I was decorating their bedroom, and then I started decorating the teenagers' room and was like, I forgot a chest of drawers. So I come back in here quickly and then just add one in and try and clutter up the top of it with some different toys and stuff. I always seem to forget that the cars and the truck that I've just placed down onto the little chest of drawers area are things that your Sims can decorate the inside of their houses with, because I used to use them and size them up to be cars on the driveway. Now with the live edit menu we have some of the cars that are driving in and around the world, so you can place them down into the driveway. But it never really occurred to me that there are things that you can actually put onto the inside of your Sims houses as well. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the teenagers' room. In here there is a double bed. I really like the swatch of the double bed, you know, like the bed cover. I I'm not a massive fan of the shape of it, and it really reminds me of a bed that we had in The Sims 2. If you know what I'm talking about, hopefully. There was this one bed that looked very similar to it in The Sims 2, and I remember when I got The Sims 4 for the first time and I looked at this bed, it just instantly took me back to The Sims 2 days. But in here, as you can see, there's a little desk area, there is also a chest of drawers, and there also ends up being a mirror on the other wall. Now quickly, whilst I'm just decorating this room, I just want to ask everyone how my voice sounds, which might sound really weird, and I approach that really weirdly. Long story short, I've got a new microphone, and this is my first time using my new microphone, and I don't know how it's good, because basically it's quite a, I want to say big girl microphone. I previously used another one, I don't even know what it's called, it had the word blue on it if you're curious, but I don't know what it's called. But I've recently got a new microphone, and it's a microphone that you're meant to sit really closely to. You're meant to basically have the mic just touching the edge of your mouth, because it's like a studio microphone or something. Oh, I don't know. But I don't like to sit like that when I do my voiceovers. When I do my voiceovers, currently, I'm sitting on my desk chair, I'm sitting with my legs crossed. I like to sit back because I feel like if I sit with the microphone too close to my face, it feels a bit formal, and I don't want to feel formal when I do my voiceovers. I want to feel like I'm just talking to my mates. So let me know how my voiceover is and how the sound quality is, and I'll try and change it if anyone's running into any issues with it, or yeah, just let me know. Like I said, I'm only really mentioning it because you're meant to sit quite close to the microphone, and I'm not sitting close, I'm sitting quite far back. I've upped the gain on, I think I've got like an amplifier or something, I don't know. Like I said, this is like a big girl microphone. It's a bit daunting, to be honest with you, but I remembered I was previously using the Blue Yeti microphone, and now I'm using a Shure SM7B, if you're curious. I don't know, I'm reading that upside down. But yeah, anyway guys, as you can see, I've moved on to the last room, which is the parents' room. In here, there ends up being a double bed, a bookcase, armchair, a mirror, and a chest of drawers. The things that you'd normally find in a parents' room. But anyway, I am going to end this voiceover here. So as always, you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you can search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speed building video. Bye guys.